So Dan, a lot to talk about this week. Obviously, we're Chris Weidman and Weidman-Mousasi. So to basically show what happened, they got into a sort of a clinch. Weidman went to kneel, and Mousasi landed one knee and then a second knee. On the second knee, the referee on the evening was big Dan Miragliotta, and Dan stepped in to stop the action, to say illegal strike, and said 5 minutes. So, from that perspective, you go ahead. Rob has just I don't know if you can see it there, Dan. There's a picture up on the screen.
I can see the picture. It's the stills of the shot of
So
what looks like at the time. Obviously, he's got two hands down there.
This is where Dan Miragliotta was stepping in. That last picture there is where Dan Miragliotta was stepping in. But talk to us. A lot of people talk about the actual rules.
Well, as you know, the grounded fighter with the new rules of 2017 is anything but the soles of your feet and one hand or a fist on the floor. You're a downed opponent. So for me to be a downed opponent, I have to have either two palms or two fists on the floor or any other body part. Okay, and that's the bit that there's so much to talk about regarding this. Again, people need to remember this is a new rule, right? And there are going to be some flaws in it, whether it's from a referee's perspective of whether they thought it was a downed opponent or not a downed opponent, or what a fighter thinks. Now, I'll go through a little bit of what the rules talk that I'll do with my fighters when I go into the change rooms of BAMMA or Cage Warriors. And I know some various other referees do, is that, obviously with the new rule set, I demonstrate, I make it clear that if you're going to be a down fighter, so now anything but the soles of your feet and a palm or a fist on the ground, you put any other body part down, you are a down fighter. So for me to be a down fighter, I have to put either two palms down or two fists down. And I quote, from the unified rules that it says on here, and I'm going to read it out just so I don't get it wrong, is to be grounded, both hands, palm/fist needs to be down, and or any other body part must be touching the fighting floor area. So I say to the fighters, if you're going to be a down fighter with that second hand, whether it be your palm or your fist, you need to make it clear that it's a palm and a fist. Not fingertips, okay? Not a thumb, nothing like that. The whole point of this rule was that brought in is because people used to play that fingertip game with when you used to be a down fighter with one hand down. So the whole point of this rule being brought in was to make it clear. So if you're going to be a down fighter, you put your whole palms down on the floor, or make a fist and both your fists on the floor. Or obviously, if you put your knee down on the floor, then that trumps everything out. You're most definitely a down fighter. But in this case of the Weidman and Mousasi fight, it can come into question, was he even down? Because he had his fingertips on the floor. And clearly it states in the rules that it's got to be a palm or a fist. So nothing a word about mention. So there were legal strikes. Let's forget about that. Mousasi done the right thing, yeah? We saw it. They showed it in slow motion. And Rogan many times asked for the replay, even whilst interviewing both fighters. And you saw that it did end up being that it was a legal shot. However, as we know, and I always say it, I'm not the referee in the cage, and it's hard to see what we're seeing. We've got the luxury of a replay. Dan call time.
That would have been my thing with it as well, though, was that just in the referee's defence, Joe Rogan has to ask for the interview 5, 6, 7 times possibly. Yeah. Well, Miragliotta's got that split second.
Exactly.
To see it.
And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know video replays at that event had it not in play anyway in New York. But as you saw, Big John did tell Dan, and Dan did go and check with another official if it was down or wasn't down. And I would have mostly done the same thing anyway, whether I'd gone and asked another official or one of the judges, because they might have a better viewpoint from where Dan was. So the referee, as you saw, he stepped in from behind. So again, we don't know what he's seeing, but he might have reacted to the way the fighter reacted. I don't know. Someone could have shouted something out from the corner, ref, and you do have a moment where you're like, shit, you doubt yourself or whatever. But I think the problem, people are asking that when it was clarified that it wasn't illegal, how come he was still allowed? I know one of the questions come up, how come he was allowed to still have that 5 minutes recovery time? Now, listen, at the end of the day, we haven't been in this situation. It's a new situation that has been in with these new rules. I guess it's a learning curve. Maybe what I would have done is, if once the doctor had cleared him, because I wasn't sure if the doctor had said he's good to go, or Chris was good to go, but I would have explained to Chris, said, Chris, which he did, he said, look, it's a legal shot, and you haven't got up to 5 minutes because it was legal. My fuck up, yeah. Are you good to go? If you're not good to go, then unfortunately it'll be a TKO. And then I would have asked the doctor again, assess him, is he good to go? And if Chris then would have gone, yep, I'm good to go, I'm good, whatever the other checks they need to do. Because I don't know why the doctor said he's not good to go. I don't know clarifications on that, if it was due to retina, or, you know, did he not answer? We didn't have a microphone there. All I heard was Chris saying, oh, but I'm good to go, let's go, what's going on? So
there was one piece of audio footage from the corner of Chris Weidman, and there was mention of Chris Weidman. He was asked what date it was, and he couldn't say what date it was. I think he said it was February.
Shit.
So there was something like that. So we can, we'll probably post that on the page if it's possible. If not, just search on Reddit. It's up on Reddit right now. And it's the footage.
Well, then in that case, regardless whether it was legal or not legal, then obviously the doctor will stop that. And unfortunately, it's the way it happens. So it was a legal shot, and rightly so, Mousasi won. And there was just a little bit of misunderstanding on the referee's part, and the replay thing. It's a big deal and not a big deal. But again, we've got the luxury of sitting there, and you've got the commentators going, oh, well, it wasn't illegal, it's not illegal, the hands up, the fingers down. It's a situation we learn from. Yeah, and I've had people messaging me going, see, we told you that these new rule sets are dangerous. Then they're not. They're no dangerous than taking a knee in a plump clinch or throwing a knee. At the end of the day, it's a learning curve. Like any other rule change that was brought in.
Chael Sonnen said it to be issues with this type of rule and from the outset with the ground opponent. Now, my question is though, Dan, right? As much as this is just me to you, this question. Is it? Yeah. When fuck you, Rob. when Miragliotta steps in and says illegal knee, right? I was saying this to you earlier. Obviously, Weidman, it's like when a footballer gets fouled. He's going to roll around and he's going to take the full 5 minutes, because at the time in the fight, Mousasi was starting to get the upper hand in the fight. So Weidman, like any intelligent fighter, is going to take his full allotted time to recover. Now, in that time, when you look at it, Weidman's sitting on the ground and he's rubbing his head and he's doing... But then when he goes, it's legal, he's straight away up on his feet. Right, let's go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Let's go. I'm ready to go.
But it changes if he was asked what date or what day is and he couldn't say, and the doctor's determined that he can't continue because of that. That changes that point.
I understand that, but from his perspective, right, Miragliotta didn't step in because he was stopping the fight. Issue. That's the issue. He was stepping in because he felt there was an illegal blow. Now, we don't know what was going to transition next from that point, because the very last picture that we had up was just before Miragliotta put his hands on Mousasi or Weidman. Weidman had his two palms on the ground. So at that time, the next knee was 100% going to be legal, and Mousasi looked like he wasn't going to throw another knee. So the fight was interrupted at that time incorrectly, and Weidman, in a sense, is being punished from it. Yes, he failed if the doctor said he can't fight on, but his argument would be it should have never got to that case. He could have pulled guard, he could have done numerous things, but he's going to appeal that. Do you think, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but do you think that his appeal will go well? Do you think he has a legitimate case to appeal that due to referee error?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not being funny. You had the... I can't remember the girls' names. What was the Invicta fight that a rematch happened recently? Where the girl was putting her... It was a championship fight. She put her foot on the face of the opponent and trying to defend the armbar. Yeah. And you got the referee saying, you can't do that. Yeah. Or you can because you're not stomping or kicking down the opponent. You're posturing on the face. Same as... You know, in amateur, you're not allowed to elbow to the face. However, I can push my forearm against your face. That's not me elbowing your face. And they appealed that, and rightly so, they got overturned, and they had a rematch. So they may haven't. I don't know how the commission in New York City works, and what their stand is in this situation is. Quite possibly, you know. Like I said, look, whether people think the referee made a fuck up or the replay should have been across the board or should have been in already, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but what I do know is if we can learn from this, you know. And I had this situation a couple of weeks ago on a show where a guy threw a knee to the groin, and the fighter was on the floor rolling about, and the other fighter who committed the foul, or not the foul, it was accidental. He was like, I didn't hit him in the groin. I said, dude, I saw him hit him in the groin. And obviously the replay afterwards showed that it did hit him in the groin. But I'm going by what I've seen. If someone showed me the replay there and then, again, if I'm not allowed to use replay, I'm not allowed to use replay.
Yeah.
You know, and I've made my decision on my basis. And you go down a bit of a dark route. I know the new rules they're trying to bring in that if, you know, end of a fight with replays, etc., the referee can refer to it. But during a fight being finished, it's different if Mousasi finished Weidman and he finished with ground and pound, and then afterwards they appealed it and went, look, that was a down fighter. It was due to that knee to the head of a down fighter. He was ground and pounding my fighter, and we lost. And then the referee would have gone to the replay and gone, okay, let me just assess that. Just before that ground and pound, was it illegal knee or wasn't it illegal? And obviously, clearly, if it was illegal, then maybe he can go, okay, do you know what? That was an illegal knee. I missed that. We go from there. But if you try to do it between the fights for everything, it just slows the game down. Yeah. Everything, you know. And it can't. I can't see it benefiting in that sense. But again, like I said, if Mousasi had finished Weidman with ground and pound, then Weidman's corner were complaining about being a down fighter, that's a different matter.
A couple of questions, Dan, for you from Reddit. So these are just obviously Redditeers, let's call them.
Yeah.
Sounds good, doesn't it? Reddit want to play
Redditeers.
Redditeers. So this is Bruce Buffer is my dad. Should replays be allowed universally in order to allow a referee to correct his mistake?
It'd be you say correct his mistake, but look, at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? At some point we may make mistakes, and there may be small ones and maybe big ones. There may be mistakes that people on TV won't even see that we've made, and they go, shit, you know. But I think if you're talking about, like I just said, ending the fight and then the fight ending and the corners complaining about, look, in order that the way that fight ended was due to illegal strike and caused that way, then yes, but it needs to be across the board, everywhere, whether it be from your amateur shows to your pro shows, you know. And I do think sometimes replays are good. I don't agree with replays being shown on the big screen for everyone, but then obviously, again, that's how
the entertainment aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's how Big John and some of the other guys realised that, hey, it's not a legal knee that happened to the head. But yeah, if the budget's there and every show can have instant replays for, again, which was proposed before, for the outcome of that fight, then yeah, I think it could be a good idea.
I suppose the argument for that one to not show it on the big screen is I'm sure the fighters would want transparency, so that, you know, there's no decisions being made. They're like, well, I want to see the replay too. So that's a bit of a...
Another question, Gegard. How does that even work?
Favre?
No, there's no Favre though. F-A-R-V, isn't it? Favre?
Yeah, never.
Gegard. How does it even work during a fight? Ref isn't sure if a shot was a low blow, so they take 5 minutes to review and see if it was. So essentially he's asking, doesn't know if it's a low blow. Does he go, right, hold the action, let's have a look at the replay? Or what way is the rules?
But you wouldn't look at a replay for the low blow, that because unless it was, like I said, it was a low blow, the fighter goes down and gets finished with ground and pound, and the corner complains, look, that was a blatant low blow, and that's the reason my fighter crumbled down and he got finished with ground and pound, and the referee's going, okay.
So they're not going to stop live action to review.
The fight ending sequence, probably.
Yeah. They're not going to just stop the action. Yeah. Platinum Perry has another one for you. What do you think of the hands down rule, and would you change it?
I think, you know, again, when it first came in, I wasn't sure about it. But at the end of the day, look, if the majority of the people have voted for it, there's going to be certain people who don't agree with it. My inbox when this happened just blew up. Hey, what do you think of it? Or I keep reading people's comments. See, we told you it's unsafe. Look, it's a new rule. It's going to take time for it to come into place. Same way as when the new rules came in before there were rules.
Yeah.
When Big John wrote these rules, and the commission sat down and went, okay, I don't know, you can't do 12 to 6s. Again, that's a rule that there's loads of speculations within that. Should it be in, shouldn't it be in? Or you can't knee a grounded opponent, or you can't headbutt. Stuff like that when it come in. I'm sure there was loads of people going, well, I don't agree with these rules. It seems unsafe, etc. If it works, I like the rule. I like the fact that if you're going to be a downed opponent, both your hands or your fists have got to be on the floor, and it doesn't allow people to play that game one hand down, touching up and down, you know. But it's something that we all got to get used to. The fighters are aware of the rule. And then just want to make a quick point. When you saw the Joe Rogan interview with Chris Weidman, and Weidman was going, I was down, 2 hands down, and Rogan went, really?
Yeah,
look at the replay. And he kind of, ate his words, he was like, okay, guess I'm looking at that. Yeah, I wasn't down again, you know. So he knew it, and it just at the time, you know, the fights happened in such a fast pace. He thought he was, but yeah, you know. So he knew the rules as well. It's not as if he didn't know the rules. He knew the rules.
Last question, we kind of covered it, but it's the knee was deemed legal by the ref. Yet Weidman was told he had a few minutes left to recover. Comments on that'd be good. Just essentially, it was a bit of a fuck up.
Emperor Roscoe said that.
Yeah, Emperor. Sorry, Emperor.
Yeah, but I think the confusion, we sort of answered that, Emperor. The confusion was he didn't say it was legal at first. He said it was illegal.
So he would have got.
And then when it got legal, he then was deemed unfit.
Yeah, so it shouldn't have been, as we said, it shouldn't have been a 5 minute. But
just in regards to Rogan, Dan, I won the internet. I tweeted at the time when Rogan was doing what he was doing, hanging Miragliotta, hanging Chris Weidman, and said, Rogan in a previous life swung the axe to cut off William Wallace's head. Hashtag hangman.
Very nice.
What a tweet. I only got 2 likes.
That is a good tweet. But yeah, all in all, my final point on this would be, look, it's a learning curve. Mistakes are going to happen, and we just move forward from there. Now I guess now we know what to do if as a ref, this ever does happen, or a foul happens and a replay comes in that it wasn't a foul. What do you do? You know, they might write that in. Look, you just quickly take the.
My thing is, Dan, is the New York Commission. They need to almost go and shadow other commissions or something, because there's every
like an employee in a new job.
But because every card in New York, there's been an issue. There's something weird has happened. Every card, 2 cards. Yeah, Bellator is going there soon, man.
Yeah, I know.
This is 3rd card. Yeah, Bellator, watch out, man.